It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hello, you're watching the Eagle Community Television Forum. I'm Mike Kerner in for Gary Shorman, and our guest this week is Kansas State Representative Troy Waymaster. So Troy, thanks for coming in and talking to us a little bit today.
Well, it's good to be here, and thank you for having me, Mike.
And I know you had a long session this previous session.
Longest in Kansas history. So,
wow.
And believe me, we're not proud of it, but it was 113 days.
The reason we wanted to talk to you today is talk to you a little bit about maybe yourself, maybe people don't know you,
Okay.
and then also talk about the session and maybe some of the stuff that you've spearheaded. Maybe for the people out there watching, maybe they don't know who you are, but you are Representative Troy Waymaster, and you're a state representative. And
Correct.
you represent, I'd say the Russell area, but you serve more than Russell. It's kind of a line
Yes, I
north
do.
and south in that whole area. Let's talk about that because it's a kind of an odd geographical territory.
Well, one thing that we experienced when the redistricting went through in 2012 is that I think the judges were very creative with some of the districts. And my district actually consists of 9 counties, Russell, Smith, Osborne, and Jewell, Lincoln, Barton, and Rush. So those are all the counties that consist of the 109th Kansas House. I have the entire counties of Russell, Osborne, and Smith, and then portions of the other counties. But that's pretty much the 109th Kansas House District. So
Now, how often do you travel through those areas? Do you do a trip like once every couple weeks or every couple months? Or?
Oh no, it's about every week.
Oh, really?
I'm on the road going someplace. Like just last Saturday, I was in Mankato for their annual threshing bee. And so next weekend, I'll be, actually since Wilson is not in my district, but so many residents of the 109th Kansas House go to the Czech Festival, I'll be in the Czech Festival. So on a weekly basis, I'm traveling around the district and for different celebrations, festivals, whatever may be going on.
Waving in a lot of parades.
Waving in a lot of parades, and right now it's really busy with all the county fairs going on. So
Oh, yeah.
those have been starting, and so it's a busy time.
Well, county fairs shouldn't be something that's unfamiliar to you because
No.
you grew up in the farming community. I'll talk about that a little bit. Grew up on a family farm.
Right. I grew up on our family farm. Actually, that's where I live right now when my parents decided to move into Russell. But it was about 8 miles south of Bunker Hill. I graduated from Russell High School in 1996, attended the University of Kansas where I got my Bachelor of Arts degree in political science, which is actually very fitting for the current profession that I'm in. But after I graduated from the University of Kansas, actually I worked for Chrysler Financial for 6 years. And I started out in Kansas City, and then I was relocated to Dallas, and then I was getting ready to be relocated to Detroit, and I decided to move back home to Russell County. And then I started working for UMB Bank there in Russell, where I was the branch manager and assistant vice president. And I managed 3 facilities, the one in Russell, one in Luray, and then also one in Hudson, Kansas. And then in 2012, I decided that I wanted to run for political office, and so I filed to run. And what was then the 110th Kansas House, and then redistricting, moved Russell County over into the 109th. And so I ran for the 109th Kansas House, and it's been great ever since.
And it's tough to keep your banking job if you're running for political office.
Yeah, it is. It is tough to keep your banking job and running for political office. So we already had it lined up that I would go ahead and join the family farm with my uncle and my dad, and so I've been there ever since.
Now, when you were in Topeka, and not Topeka, but when you were in Lawrence and you were doing some of your political science, did you have a chance to go over to Topeka and check it out and kind of get your feet wet a little bit and see what it was all about, the process?
Oh yeah, I was actually an intern for 2 legislative sessions in the state Senate while I was attending the University of Kansas. So I had that background and that knowledge when I entered the political process. So yeah, being that close to Topeka from Lawrence, it was great to have that close proximity to the State House and then able to see the political action.
Is that where you kind of felt, maybe this is for me?
You know, actually, I wanted to be in politics since I was about 12 years old.
Oh.
And so it started pretty young. I mean, obviously, Russell with the heritage of Bob Dole, being the son of Russell, basically. And you just kind of had this feeling of politics in the city of Russell. And actually, I remember when I was 9 years old, and he announced in 1987 in downtown Russell that he was running for the presidency of the United States. And then also in 1996, when I was a senior, he had got the nomination for the Republican candidate for the presidency. And actually, I attended the Republican National Convention in San Diego that year.
So you had a chance to really get your feet wet, getting
Yeah.
a chance to see a big convention like that, whether it be Democrat or Republican convention, but those things are a big thing too.
Oh, it was a great experience. Actually, the week of the convention, it was either go to the convention or go and tour and try to be selected for fraternities at the University of Kansas. But I thought this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go to the Republican National Convention, and so I went there instead of joining a fraternity.
Well, and especially since you said you wanted to do that since you were 12 years old,
Yeah.
that may take a little higher priority.
Yeah, it took a higher priority.
Well, we're going to get to talking about some things you probably don't want to talk about too much. It's going to be the legislative session that you guys finished up here recently. We'll get to that in the second half of the show, okay?
Oh, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so again, our guest today is Representative Troy Waymaster from the Russell area, and we'd like to talk to him a little bit about this previous legislative session. Again, this is a forum. It's brought to you by Hayes Med. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to the forum. I'm Mike Kerner in for Gary Shorman this week. Our guest this week is State Representative Troy Waymaster. By the way, if you've got any questions or comments you'd like, Gary would love to hear from you. His email address is gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. Again, this is the forum. Now, Troy, we finished up with this legislative session. You said one of the longest ones in history.
The longest,
The
yes.
longest in history. Did you know that something was when you first started this legislative session this last time that you guys were in for a tough haul?
Oh, no, I think we knew that. We knew where the state budget deficit was at when we started in January. And actually, there was a bill that was introduced in the Appropriations Committee, which is a committee that I serve on in the House, to basically make us only be there 90 days. And we knew we were going to have a long session. I don't think we anticipated 113 days. But we knew we were going to go over the regular session of 90 days.
Do people ask you, because you said you travel out to fairs and to parades and you talk to a lot of people all the time when you're out, they try to give you suggestions of how you can maybe make it shorter? Or is it maybe something that maybe you guys can work on the budget towards the front of the session and not have it delayed out till the end and have all these things happen? Or is there some options out there?
There were some maneuvers that were done this legislative session that are not standard practice. Generally, we do talk about the budget in both chambers, the House and the Senate. And then before we go on break in April, each chamber normally is able to debate and add amendments to the bill on the House floor or the Senate floor. And then when we come back from break, then it swaps houses. This year that didn't happen. We didn't debate a budget bill until May in the House, and same with taxes. The tax bill was not introduced into the House until I think it was the 87th day of the legislative session. So things were kind of delayed, but we did talk about the budget at the beginning of the session. I'm chairman of the General Government Budget Committee, and so we had meeting with all the different agencies. We had 27 agencies that submit their budgets to my committee that I'm the chairman of. And we had to report those back to the Appropriations Committee, and we had those done by the beginning of March. So we had a budget bill put together. It was just, like I said, just the maneuvers were a little bit different this session because we were facing some unchanneled times. We were facing a deficit where we knew that we were probably going to have to increase taxes on some level or some basis, and that is not an overwhelmingly popular thing to do. So I think we were just delaying it until the final moment. where we actually needed to act. Now I stayed in contact with constituents through the entire legislative session. Towards the end, a lot of them were saying that we need to get out of there. But when when I came back home, I had some that were thankful that we were very methodical and didn't rush anything. And we actually were very tactful as far as how we addressed some of the issues that were facing the state of Kansas.
Yeah, it's a little different this year because every other year you do a budget, and it goes for 2 years, right?
Right. We started that actually in the legislative session of 2013. Governor Brownback submitted a 2-year budget, which makes it easier next year, hopefully, where we already have the budget passed. So we'll have to do some tweaking and some modifications to it, but the overwhelming budget has already passed for the next 2 years.
And do you have a lot of people out there that give you suggestions of how to do things better? Do you get that all the time?
Oh yeah, you get them from all over the state, the nation. We even get emails from all over the world telling us how we need to address some of the issues that may be facing the state of Kansas. And some of them are issues that really we're not even discussing, but they want to have their voice heard, and we get emails all the time
That's kind of interesting. I'd like to know about that a little bit. I mean, do you get them from all over all over the country and all over the globe, people wanting to, I guess, give their 2 cents and lobby a little bit?
Oh yeah. And I mean, and that's their right, freedom of speech, and they can contact anybody that they want to express their opinion or their belief. And now I would say I probably weigh heavily more on the emails from the individuals of the 109th Kansas House and obviously the state of Kansas. But that was one thing that did kind of surprise me, is the correspondence that we do receive from everywhere. I mean, pretty much.
Now, how long have you been now serving as a representative?
This is my second term.
Second term. This time around, or maybe even the first time, are there some things that you pick up along the way and you think, I want to spearhead this, I want to make this happen? There's some things that you feel passionate about that you really want to push through, that you really like to work on for your constituents?
Well, the main thing that I want to work on for my constituents, obviously the 2 biggest industries in the 109th Kansas House is agriculture and oil. And so those are 2 industries that I'm particularly fond of, and then I also have a great need to be as educated as I possibly can and also know about bills that will be affecting those 2 industries. I serve on the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee in the House. I've served on that both terms, and it's very important for my constituents that I be on those committees. So anything with ag and oil, I really pay close attention to. Now, it's kind of different within the 109th Kansas House because obviously there's oil production in Osborne County, Russell County, Rush, and Barton, but Smith and Jewell don't have any oil production at all, but they're heavily agriculture counties. So I have to make sure that I balance those 2 industries as well, because it is diverse across the district.
Is it important as a legislator when you're in Topeka to get with other legislators and try to work things out together? Gives you a little bit more clout to get things through?
Yeah. In fact, when we were discussing the tax bill in the latter part of this session, there was about 28, I would say, conservative Republicans, myself included, that we had our own agenda on how we wanted to address the tax issue. And so, we had individuals from Wichita, Western Kansas, Johnson County, all over the state, and we all met trying to implement a tax platform that we felt we needed to address for the state of Kansas. Unfortunately, it wasn't going to be able to pass the House, and it wasn't able to pass the Senate. But yeah, you get these groups together and try to discuss particular issues. One other thing was my first year, when I was a freshman, I was vice chairman of the House Rural Caucus. And then my next year, then I was chairman of that. And so we pretty much focus on issues that just directly impact Western Kansas in the House Rural Caucus.
Very good. Now, some of the stuff that you've worked on, there's some really cool things you've gone through, especially the one with the license plate for the Eisenhower Museum.
Yeah, we have a lot of bills that are introduced for license plate tags for certain organizations or historical figures in the state of Kansas, and obviously President Eisenhower being from Abilene in Kansas, we wanted something to honor President Eisenhower and the museum there in Abilene. And so that was one bill that I did sponsor to get that through, and it passed.
And sometimes there's fun ones like that, and fun and easy ones to get through, and then there's really tough ones.
I would say most of the bills actually are pretty much non-controversial. Of course, the ones that everybody always hears about are the ones that are the controversial ones. They get the media attention and coverage, but the majority of the bills that go through the House and the Senate are pretty much easy. I mean, they pass 125 to 0 in some cases. So we have the easy ones, but the real impactful bills are the ones that you're always going to hear about.
Well, you get to do that, so you have a chance to now kind of live out your dream a little bit and be a legislator in the Topeka area. Do you see some of those kids that come through that are students not only from Russell High School or the high schools that are within your area, your legislative area, or even college students that come over and they want to talk to you and pick your brain a little bit?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have students that every year from Natoma, the senior class comes and visits the Capitol. And this year they sat in my office and I just opened it up to them and they asked any question that they wanted to. And a lot of it was, how did I get into politics? What interests me in politics? And but yeah, we have students from all over the district that come and visit the State House, either as pages. I've had shadows. I've have interns who have helped me out during the sessions, and then we have the groups that come and visit. We had the students from Bickerdike School in Russell come and sing in the Rotunda, and Governor Brownback came for that little concert that they had. So yeah, we have visitors all the time, and I open it up to whatever question they want to ask, and pretty much free game.
Well, I appreciate you serving and doing such a fine job so far, and maybe next year you can get done a little sooner.
Well, yeah, I hope so.
Again, our guest today is State Representative Troy Waymaster. This is the Eagle Community Television Forum, brought to you by Hayes Med. I'm Mike Kerner in for Gary Shorman this week. Thanks for joining us. Again, it's the Forum.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.